The sun is barely up and you are hungry. Really hungry. Not I skipped lunch hungry. The kind of hunger that makes your hands shake. But here is the twist that will follow you for the rest of this video. You don't have a stove. You don't have a pot. You don't have a match, a lighter, a spark, or a single glowing ember anywhere on Earth. Nobody does. Cooking has not been invented yet, so the question that keeps historians and biologists up at night is deceptively simple. What on earth did our ancestors actually eat when nothing could be cooked at all? Because think about it. Almost everything you love is cooked. Bread, toasted. Meat, seared. Eggs, fried. Rice, boiled. Coffee, roasted. Take fire away and your entire kitchen collapses into a pile of raw, cold, hard, sometimes toxic ingredients. And for most of the story of humanity, that pile was the only menu that existed. So stick with me, because what these early humans ate and how their bodies were forced to adapt to it is one of the strangest survival stories nobody ever tells you. Let's set the stage. We're talking about a stretch of time so long it barely fits in your head. Anatomically modern humans and their close relatives were wandering around for hundreds of thousands of years. And the control of fire for cooking, reliable, everyday, let's grill this fire, came surprisingly late and messily. Scientists still argue about the exact date, and that argument matters. But the honest answer is, for an enormous chunk of our past, a cooked meal simply was not on the table. So our little stickman ancestor wakes up, stretches, and goes looking for breakfast the only way possible, raw. And here's the first surprise. Meat was not the main event. When you picture a caveman, you probably picture a guy dragging a mammoth leg. Forget it. For most early humans, in most places, the daily calories came from plants. Roots, tubers, seeds, nuts, wild fruits, leaves, shoots, because plants don't run away. A root just sits there in the ground, waiting. It doesn't have hooves to kick you or teeth to bite you. So if you were an early human trying not to die today, you dug, you gathered. You spent hours with a sharpened stick, prying starchy tubers out of the dirt, cracking them open, and chewing them raw. And chewing is exactly where this gets brutal. Raw tubers are tough. Raw roots are fibrous and full of nasty compounds. Imagine biting into a raw potato right now, that chalky, bitter, jaw-aching resistance. Now imagine that being a huge part of every single meal, every single day, for your entire life. Researchers who study ancient teeth and jaws found something wild. Early humans had massive chewing muscles and big, heavy teeth compared to us. Their skulls were practically built as grinding machines. Why? Because raw food demands it. You have to physically pulverize it with your own face before your gut can do anything with it. Some studies estimate that early humans may have spent a huge portion of their waking day just chewing. Not eating, chewing. Picture our stickman sitting on a rock, jaw working like a machine, hour after hour, just to squeeze enough calories out of raw plants to stay alive. That's not a snack. That's a full-time job. Your commute today is nothing compared to the ancestral commute of grinding a raw root into something swallowable. Now let's talk about fruit, because this is where nature was actually kind. Wild fruit was a gift. Sweet, soft, packed with quick sugar, and best of all, it required no cooking at all. Berries, figs, wild melons, dates, whatever the local landscape offered. Fruit is essentially a plant bribing you. Eat me, spread my seeds, and I'll give you energy. Early humans took that deal every single time. But here's the catch. Fruit is seasonal. It shows up, floods the forest with color for a few weeks, and then vanishes. You can't build a year-round diet on something that disappears when the weather turns. So fruit was the jackpot, not the paycheck. The paycheck, boringly enough, was often nuts and seeds. Dense little packets of fat and protein that you could sometimes store. Crack a nut and you unlock a burst of calories that a leaf could never give you. This is a big deal, because fat is the ultimate survival currency. Raw greens will fill your stomach but barely feed your body. You'd literally starve eating salad all day. Nuts changed that math. So our ancestors became obsessive crackers of shells, using rocks as the very first kitchen tools, long before any pan existed. Okay, but the meat. You've been waiting for the meat. Yes, early humans absolutely ate animals. And here's the part your stomach won't like. They ate them raw. Or they ate them in ways we'd find horrifying today. And a lot of that early meat wasn't fresh hunting glory. It was scavenging. Picture a lion that has eaten its fill and wandered off, leaving a carcass behind. Our clever ancestors moved in, not for the muscle, which the big predators had already stripped, but for something the other scavengers couldn't reach: bone marrow and brain. This is genuinely one of the smartest tricks in human history. Marrow and brain are locked inside bone, sealed away from hyenas and vultures who don't have tools. But a human with a rock? A human can smash a leg bone open and drink out that soft, fatty, calorie-rich marrow. It's basically raw nutritional gold, protected by nature's own packaging. So our stickman isn't out there fearlessly fighting lions. He's waiting, watching, and then sprinting in to crack bones the moment the coast is clear. Survival wasn't about strength. It was about patience and a good rock. And when they did eat raw flesh, there was a hidden price: parasites, bacteria, diseases lurking inside raw muscle and organs. Every raw meal was a gamble. This is part of why cooking, when it finally arrived, was such an earth-shaking upgrade. Heat kills the things that kill you. But before that, every bite of raw meat carried a quiet risk. And some of those bites were the last meal an ancestor ever ate. Now here's a category you probably forgot entirely: the water's edge. Coastlines, rivers, and lakes were survival gold mines. Shellfish, in particular, were a game changer. Why? Because a clam can't run. You just pry it open and eat it raw, straight from the shell. Something humans still do today at fancy restaurants, by the way. Oysters on ice are literally a Stone Age meal that got a wine list. Coastal early humans feasted on mollusks, crabs, sea snails, fish trapped in tidal pools, and washed-up sea life. Some researchers think these rich coastal diets, packed with brain-friendly fats, played a real role in fueling our growing intelligence. So the beach wasn't a vacation, it was a supermarket. And let's not be squeamish about the small stuff, because early humans certainly weren't. Insects, grubs, larvae, eggs stolen from nests, honey ripped straight from wild hives, stings and all. These weren't emergency foods. In many places, they were staples. A handful of fat grubs can carry more energy than a whole basket of leaves. Insects are protein, fat, and minerals with legs. If you think that's gross, remember, your ancestors would think your obsession with plain lettuce is the strange part. So step back and look at the full plate. Roots you had to grind for hours. Fruit that vanished with the seasons. Nuts you smashed with rocks. Marrow you drank out of shattered bones. Shellfish pried raw from the shore. Insects, eggs, honey, and the occasional risky bite of raw flesh. It was a diet of relentless effort, constant searching, and never quite enough. There were no leftovers. There was no fridge. Every day started with the same terrifying question: will I find enough to survive until tomorrow? And that is exactly why cooking, when it finally came, didn't just change dinner, it changed us. Fire softened food, so those giant jaws and heavy teeth could shrink. Fire unlocked calories that raw food kept locked away, freeing up energy that some scientists believe helped fuel our bigger, hungrier brains. Fire killed the parasites and the poisons. All those hours our stickman spent grinding raw roots, cooking gave that time back, time to think, to talk, to build, to become, well, you. So the next time you flick on a stove without a second thought, remember what came before it. Remember the endless chewing, the cracked bones, the raw clams, the seasons of hunger. For hundreds of thousands of years, our ancestors survived on a cold, hard, raw menu that would send any modern kitchen into a panic. They didn't have fire. They had grit, rocks, patience, and jaws like machines. And the fact that you're here, warm and full, and watching this, that's the reward for the hardest, hungriest experiment in human history. So tell me, could you have survived a single day on that menu?